Hi, everyone. How are you? For those of you who don't know and have not had the chance to meet, I'm Dean Willow Bay, the Dean of the Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, and welcome to the 2023 PhD hooding ceremony. I am delighted to be joining School of Communication Director Hector Amaya and the Director of Doctoral Studies, Taj Frazier, on this special day, and I would like to thank them for their stewardship of this program, which is so very critical to the future of professions. Thank you. This day, as you all know, is a very special one for all of us. It's a moment to celebrate what you've accomplished, the knowledge that you've created, the knowledge that you've distributed, the knowledge that you have shared. But it's also a day to reflect upon how much you have contributed to our Annenberg community and what you have meant to us, what you have meant to your peers and to your faculty. But before we turn our attention to these extraordinary 9 PhD candidates, I would like to begin by thanking your families and your invited guests. You all have traveled a very long road with our scholars, and I am sure that some of you are laughing. Was it that long? Longer than? I was saying normally I see 1 or 2 tiny ones, but some years it's like a stroller parking lot out there, just reminding us of how very long this road can sometimes be and what fertile territory it can also be. Graduates, I am sure that you join me in thanking them for their extraordinary support. To you all, our class of 2023, you bring a diversity of background and experience to your studies here, creating new knowledge across a wide range of disciplines and subjects. And your work at USC Annenberg reflects the rich interdisciplinarity of the field of communication, which, as Dr. Amaya always calls, a hungry discipline, an unruly discipline. It also reflects the breadth of our faculty expertise, and it very powerfully demonstrates your own inventive and flexible thinking. So you have earned the distinction of a PhD from the world's best school of communication with intellectually adept and creative scholarship. And we know that Annenberg's rigorous training prepares you well to lead the field of communication in this enormously exciting but also enormously turbulent time. Your USC Annenberg doctorate degree, of course this is typically when my son calls, so excuse me, stands for excellence, certainly for excellence within the Annenberg School and for excellence within our university, but it also stands for that well beyond here. And I can tell you that when I engage with other universities and particularly with other deans, they say uniformly, please send us your graduates. And I know I say this every year, but it's true because they say that to me every year. USC Annenberg PhDs are truly the best there is. You stand tall among them, and we know that you will enrich this field of communication immeasurably in the years ahead. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Congratulations to our graduates. And now I'm going to turn the program over to Professor Amaya.
Thank you, Dimbe, and welcome to the Annenberg School of Communication, and welcome to this important celebration. It's a celebration that has 2 sides. On the one hand, we celebrate the fact that you are accomplishing something really hard. We recognize how hard it is. We went through it. We recognize the hard work, the rigor, the patience, the stubbornness, the sleeplessness, everything that has to be put on the fire in order to accomplish what you're accomplishing today. We recognize a pathway that few take and few can finish. We recognize the harshness of a process that it is designed to make you rigorous, knowledgeable, and lifelong learners. But there is also a moment of celebration for a different reason. It is a moment where after this ceremony, we will begin calling you doctor. And doctor is an odd term, by the way. I had a professor back at Texas who shared with me and with the class, actually, that when she first graduated from her doctorate, she went to the airport in Austin, and she asked the information people to call for Dr. Hillary Radner. And she did this so that she could actually hear in public actually the name Dr. Hillary Radner and step forward and say, that's who I am. And it's an odd thing to be called doctor. When I was first admitted to my PhD myself, I had a very good friend at the University of Calgary, and she was in philosophy. And she and I celebrated, and she told me right away, wow, you are going to be the foremost authority on something. At the time, I didn't know what it was going to be. But it came to my mind, actually, that to be a doctor becomes partly that. One represents the knowledge. One becomes a little bit of the foremost authority on something. It is an odd thing. It is an odd thing. Marks today also another thing, which is a transition from a student to colleague. The moment where you are not simply our mentees, we are not simply your mentors, you become our colleague. We welcome you into the community of scholars through a ceremony that has similarities to things that happened 1,000 years ago in one of the oldest institutions there are in human history. We welcome you in the recognition of the same values that we share with 1,000-year-old universities of knowledge, the pursuit of knowledge, and lifelong learning. Now I want to actually introduce to you Professor Tash Fraser. He is the director of the PhD program, and I want to thank him also for his stewardship of the program, for taking care of you and all your peers, for making sure that everything runs smoothly. Tash, thank you so much for this. This is partly your accomplishment. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Great to see all of you. I would be remiss if I didn't also give a lot of credit to Professor Tom Holohan, who is the director of the graduate program before I was here, and really was the person who led the committee who accepted you all into our program and supported you in your process of being here. So definitely want to also give credit to Tom and the faculty members who have supported you over the course of this time. And also to Anne-Marie, Sarah Holterman, just our incredible staff who's done really like the daily work of supporting our PhD students. Val, Allie, right? We have a great community here, and I'm sure our PhD students, when they've gone through the most stress, it's really those folks who they're going to figure out how to sort out themselves. So with that, we are going to begin our program. I'm going to introduce our graduates, our doctors. There you go, doctors. All right. So our first doctor is Dr. Ho-Chun Herbert Chang, who was chaired by Professor Emilio Ferrara. Herbert's PhD and his dissertation was titled Improving Information Diversity on Social Media. Let's give him a hand.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Our esteemed colleagues and families, thank you for being here, and most importantly, our graduates. It's my privilege and honor today to stand here before you and witness this memorable moment for these extraordinary students and, of course, for their families. Today, we gather here to acknowledge a journey, really. A PhD is a journey. It's a journey of intellectual rigor. It's a journey of exploration. It's a profound discovery. It's persistent dedication. And our graduates embarked upon this journey in very trying times, and they complete today. So I think that's worth celebrating because they overcame all the challenges that the pandemic posed for all of us on top of the PhD journey itself. And as a journey, it is indeed a test of resilience and determination, and it's marked by countless hours of work spent in research, sometimes failures as well, and getting back from those failures, and endless nights of perhaps writing, and I am sure in the case of Herbert, inordinate amount of caffeine. And this it's also fueled by intellectual curiosity. As an accomplishment, this is more than just a testament to our graduates' academic excellence. It's a testament to their perseverance, their tenacity, and the unwavering commitment that they have for pursuing knowledge that benefits not only academic community, but humanity and our society at large. And speaking of impact, today I have the pleasure of presenting this doctoral hood to our student, Herbert. He's a scholar who has demonstrated a remarkable passion for research in communication. And he has already left a mark in this field thanks to his work. But Herbert stands here today because his work has also crossed the boundaries of disciplines, and he has demonstrated that communication research can have an impact beyond our community. His dissertation work is in fact contributing to disciplines as disparate and diverse as political science and mathematics, if you can believe that, computer science and artificial intelligence, ethics and computational social science. So through his research, Herbert explored the complexity of online human interactions on social media platforms and the intricacies of online speech, political speech in particular, and the power and the perils of media disinformation, misinformation, and polarization, and understood the effects, the profound effects that communication has on our society these days. So with your insights, Herbert, you contributed to shaping the future of a discipline that I like to call computational communication. In a short few years, Herbert published over 20 peer-reviewed papers that appeared in numerous journals, prestigious journals and conferences in a variety of different fields, many of them as a first author. And this work has already accrued numerous dozens, sometimes hundreds of citations in the academic and the media as well. He has been the recipient of several awards. I'm not going to enumerate them, but the last one includes only the latest, the PhD Achievement Award of 2022 that was conferred just a few weeks ago. I think it's fair to say that Herbert was an inspiration not only to his collaborators and to his peers, but also to his teachers. And in fact, I had the privilege to learn as much from Herbert as I think I taught him, perhaps more. So more importantly, despite all these successes, he always kept his cool and humble, open to criticism, and eager to learn. So concluding, both USC and Annenberg are privileged to have Herbert among our graduates, and Herbert will bear our flags very soon when he will become an assistant professor and join Dartmouth College. That is one of the oldest and most reputable institutions in this country. He will be joining in the summer, coming full circle back to Dartmouth, where everything started for his academic journey. So without further ado, please join me congratulating Dr. Herbert Chang. We're very proud of him.
So I'd first like to say I feel extremely sad that I'm giving up this beautiful LA weather for the brutal winters of New England. However, the East Coast was my first home in the United States. That's where I went to college. And typical of a liberal arts education, students were well-rounded, intelligent, and extremely confused about what they wanted to do with their life. This was very much reflected in my grad school applications. I reread it this weekend, and I was very grateful that Annenberg took the chance with me. When I met my cohort and our diverse interests, I was a little skeptical how we could fit in this like one single seminar. This was quickly remedied from the natural collaborations that emerged, largely driven by our shared goal to see kangaroos in ICA Australia that year. Of course, the pandemic hit. I lost my closest high school teacher to the pandemic, who first joked about me getting my PhD, but it also afforded me time with my parents and grandparents in Taiwan, and to develop roots in a community I might have lost otherwise. But I only could have continued my PhD from abroad with the patience and kindness of my advisor Emilio, my committee, Hector, Dean Bay, and Sarah, and Anne-Marie. So thank you, Emilio and Marlon, for being so generous with your intellect and time and believing in my work. Thank you, ANN, the game group, and Mass for always being supportive, and my friends for being such lovable icons in my day-to-day life. And thank you, most importantly, to my family who are sitting here for always supporting me unconditionally in my every endeavors. So if college was about confusing oneself, my time in LA was finding a community I felt comfortable and happy being confused in. I'll miss the late night cafe runs, hot pot, KBBQ, the printer that always seems to need more paper, and sipping White Claws on the patio outside of our office. Thankfully, our dream of kangaroos is alive and well. Hope to see everyone again in ICA Australia next summer, if not earlier. Thank you so much.
All right. Next, we have Tyler Quick, who is chaired by Professor Larry Gross. Tyler's dissertation was titled #InstaGay, Representational Politics versus Libidinal Economics on Instagram.
Thank you. It's a very nice experience for me to look out at a group who, as you will recall, I spent a lot of time with in your first semester boot camp, where it was my task to deal with the fact that people who had climbed to the top of some ladder were now at the bottom of another one. And my role was both to put you in your place at the bottom of the ladder and encourage you to climb it, which clearly you all did in mostly pretty good time. So congratulations to all of you. Tyler is, well, first of all, let me just note that we, my colleagues and I, attacked Tyler's dissertation this morning because we held the defense. It was very one-sided. I have to say the committee surrendered immediately. We were happy to tell him that not only was it a pass, but that we were collectively extraordinarily impressed with the work that he had produced. And this was an example, speaking of the bottom of the ladder, in which there was some climbing to do, some learning, some modesty required, but achievement earned. To me, what is particularly interesting in so many ways about Tyler's project, as well as some others of our students, is that I came into this field of communication, media studies, long time ago, before many of you were born, at a time when the academic world was coming to terms, somewhat reluctantly, with the power of broadcasting to change the nature of society, to change the world, to alter social life, to alter commercial life, to alter politics. You could not understand the modern world in the latter half of the 20th century without understanding the role of broadcasting as this unprecedented force in society. At the time, myself, my colleagues, my students, certainly didn't anticipate that the century would end with another technological revolution, and that following shortly on that would be the revolution that we all know today as social media, that would once again upend the way in which we understood the world and would require us to reopen the questions that many of us had spent decades trying to resolve and answer, and to understand the way in which what we all, call in our shorthand social media has become an inescapable, unavoidable, for better or for worse, part of the way in which we live. Part of what I have benefited from in working with Tyler, and this is, by the way, for those of you who will end up in academic roles, one of the great secrets of the academic world is you get to be interested in things and get your students to go out and find the answers for you. You sit there and say, here's an interesting question, and they go and spend so much time answering it for you. And Tyler has really been a help for me in understanding in a grounded way, in an empirically grounded way, not merely off the top of his head, as so much of the public discussion about social media, for better or for worse, is taken up with, what some talking head on cable is thinking today, but grounded in actual participant observation, in analysis, in thought, in theoretically nuanced ideas. And I have learned a lot, as I have from so many of my students. So in a way, I am, as I've been for decades, grateful to be in the position of somebody who can work with really smart students on really interesting and important questions. And Tyler is very much one of those. So congratulations and thank you.
First of all, thank you, Larry Gross. For those who don't know, Larry Gross is an academic icon, he's an activist icon, and he is a gay icon too. And I am so fortunate to have had a mentor like Larry. This project would have been completely impossible without him. I also want to thank my dissertation committee members. I don't believe that they're here, but Amelia Jones and Broski and Henry Jenkins were so supportive of a very unusual and frankly kind of risky, if you ever did see my Instagram page, research project. I also really wanted to thank all of the faculty who guided my journey here. I don't see all of the people I wanted to thank in the crowd, but especially Sangeeta Shrestova, Ben Carrington, Rob Kozinets, Patty Riley, Taj Frazier. I learned so much from working with each and every one of you, and I'm so grateful to have known you. Thank you. Anne-Marie Campion and Sarah Holterman, I could dedicate this entire 2 minutes to both of you. I know that this sentiment is something that everyone else here agrees with, whether they haven't graduated yet or whether they're graduating today. Our success is your success, and thank you so much. I want to thank all of my friends. So many of them are in the audience. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jessica. Hi. I don't know if I see everyone else, but I benefited from the best colleagues, and we are an interdisciplinary program. We are a diverse program, and I learned so much from each and every one of the students that I encountered here too. So thank you. Big thank you. I see my friend Claire O'Connor in the front row. A big thank you to all of the students that helped us fight for a union. That was extremely important to me, and I will not benefit from the union, but all of you will, and students for future generations will. And that kind of what I call responsibility politics is something we all need. Ali Arguello, Hector Amaya, Sarah Benet-Weiser, who was the director before Hector, all of you were so supportive of me as well. I want to thank the Annenberg custodial staff, the maintenance staff, the people who fixed the printers. Every single one of these people helped us along the way. And finally, I just want to note that I came into this program thinking that research on gay people was a dead end, and that research on gay people was studying an already resolved problem. And if you've been reading the news, it's apparently not the case anymore, right? Times change, and the fight for social justice is not something that we can ever lie down and be quiet about because it's been on the news too much or because we had that one annoying student who had to say too many things. This world is only a better place when we fight for it, and I really want to thank Larry and my committee especially for letting me pursue research that was at times not so empirical, but definitely activist in its orientation, and I value that too. Thank you, and thank all of you.
Next, we have Edward Byung-Kwan Kang, who is chaired by Professors Larry Gross and Josh Kuhn. The title of his dissertation was Machine Audibility on its Imaginaries, Ontologies, and Limitations.
So it becomes a little repetitive to say how much I enjoyed and benefited from working with students, but once again, it's the case. From the very first time that I met and spoke with Ed, when, as he probably remembers, he came to see me in my office and was curious about coming to communication. He was finishing in East Asian studies, interested in music, and that's what really caught my attention, and I tried my best to persuade him that communication would allow him to explore ideas, to go in directions that he might not know yet, and that it would be productive and rewarding. I know I wasn't the only one engaged in that persuasion, but we succeeded. And Ed joined us, and I have to say, from the beginning, I found it remarkably rewarding to work with someone who so quickly picked up ideas and took them to interesting places. I've spent a lot of time, as I've been implying or saying, today working with doctoral students over the decades, and I've learned that there's a real difference between the students who need to be inspired before they get anything done and students who just get it done. And Ed, fortunately, is the second category. Right? He gets it, he does it, he thinks it through, and it comes out more interesting and better written than I would have expected. Except after a while I expected from him, and he continues to do it. But it is remarkably rewarding, another aspect to sort of build on what I said earlier, of being a teacher, to work with someone, in effect, looking over their shoulder as they're working, and really be admiring and learning from the way in which they take a question and make it more interesting, deeper, and rewarding to explore. And that has really been my experience with Ed, and I know will continue to be as he moves on. He is taking up a teaching position at NYU in the fall. They're lucky to have him, but we're really not saying goodbye.
As Larry mentioned, when Ed and I first met, Ed was fresh out of his undergrad experience here at USC, where he specialized in East Asian studies with a music industry minor. And he came to me and he said, "I'm a DJ." And he was like, "You're a DJ too, right?" And like, maybe I could write about DJs. And I was like, finally, someone who wants to study DJs with me and talk about DJs. But then, lo and behold, I noticed Ed wasn't talking about DJs as much, and I started to get a little DJ sad. I started only queuing up sad songs, and I slowed my BPMs down. That's a DJ joke. You got that? And then it got worse. He started talking about things like machine learning and voice identification software and biometric technologies. He got interested in how corporations and governments were using voice identification to create databases and monitor user experience and track identity formation, which is to say he left me and my records and little mixing boards in the analytical, ontological, and biometric dust. We were in the age of algorithms and digital surveillance and artificial intelligence, and Ed was going to be the young scholar who takes his past experience in music, his past experiences as a listener, and uses it to change the way we study contemporary digital systems and machine learning. But when I really knew that Ed was like on a whole other plane from me and from when I first met him, is when he told me, I'm going to study patents. Patents. No former DJ studies patents, Ed. But that's what he did. And that study formed part of what became a magnificent and groundbreaking dissertation that will impact the way sound studies scholars think about sound, the way digital media studies scholars think about sound, the way digital media scholars think about machine learning, and even how machine learning companies think about the social, cultural, and ethical implications, we hope they think about that, of what they make and produce. It may also, just maybe, influence the next generation of DJs as well. The ones playing sets that they didn't even choose, combinations of data and sound that their mixing machines learn for them, even more than they already do. But really, the most important part of all of this trajectory that I know Larry and I concur on is that Ed has excelled in all of these areas while never, ever surrendering his warmth and kindness. A truly, truly special person with a special mind. And we're both so proud of you, Ed, and so excited for the next part of your journey.
Thank you, Larry and Josh, for the kind words. I want to first express my deepest gratitude to my advisors, Larry Gross and Josh Kuhn. I would not be here today without their guidance, support, and wisdom. I know not every PhD student is blessed to have mentors who are so available and supportive, and I feel so incredibly lucky and honored to be able to call Larry and Josh my biggest supporters. As Josh mentioned, I came to Annenberg after being a DJ for 2 years, and honestly having no idea what I wanted to study. I thought it would be something that interfaces music and pop culture. That didn't turn out to be the case, as Josh mentioned, at all. My dissertation is about the epistemic limits of voice AI, and I'll be teaching a critical AI class at NYU in the fall. I think this radical shift is indicative of the intellectual breadth of this department, and it was through my openness to learn from the incredibly smart and diverse people around me, whether those people were my friends, colleagues, or professors, that I was able to make the most of this experience. I've always felt supported by not only my amazing committee members, which also include Mike Annany and John Cheney-Lippold, but also the broader intellectual community in Annenberg, Kate Crawford, Taj Frazier, Henry Jenkins, Jennifer Peterson, Christina Vesperis, and Patty Riley are other Annenberg professors who have been inspirational and helped me grow as a scholar by taking classes with them. And of course, Sarah and Anne-Marie have always been so willing to help me with anything I reach out to them for, so thank you. I also want to say thank you to my family, especially my parents, Anne and Gilbert, for supporting me through this journey. I was a student for much longer than any of us anticipated, and I'm grateful for their patience, kindness, support, and love. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to my wife and soulmate, Amy Lee. I'm grateful for your kindness and love, and of course for being the best dog mom to our poodles, Joy and Boba. I was able to finish my PhD only because you supported me every step of the way. Thank you for believing in me, waiting for me, allowing me to use our dining table as my PhD desk for over 3 years, and for prompting me to critically investigate Shazam as a technology of listening. That suggestion turned into my dissertation on machine audibility. Thank you.
Let us welcome to the stage Claire O'Connor. Her dissertation chair was Josh Kuhn. The title of Claire's dissertation is Angel Dreams, Collective Desire, Resonant Myth, and Political Possibility Today.
Okay. You can do it. What a journey, Claire O'Connor. A journey that started with, do I belong in communication? And is ending with, do I belong in communication? It's a journey that started with, Josh, trust me, just trust me, it will all make sense. And is ending with, Josh, look, see, it's all making sense, right? You see it. I'm not crazy. It makes sense, right? It's a journey that started with me recognizing from the start that Claire O'Connor was wise beyond her years, a skilled organizer, a brilliant thinker, a child of an intellectual and activist legacy who was clearly determined to carry that legacy on, but in her own way, on her own intellectual and political terms. It's a journey that began with no kids and is ending with 2. And those 2 kids have shaped every inch of the brilliant and intellectually wild and critically astute dissertation that she has now completed. Their births and preschool schedules and colds, but also the light that they kept shining on the stakes of it all. For Claire, through the Obama years, the Trump years, and now these maybe even stranger Biden years, why write a dissertation? Or how do you write a dissertation while still being an organizer, while still agitating for the changes you know must take place? Or how can your dissertation become an instrument of those agitations and changes? She's never said it to me, and she herself would probably hate and is hating me right now for how corny this sounds. But I bet that those 2 kids were among the big Post-it notes, right next to the Walter Benjamin postcards and the photographs of her dad. Fight against fascism and authoritarianism, activate for radical ideas that nourish abolition and emancipation, because who else is going to do it for them if I don't? Because if any one of us stop fighting with ideas and actions, the enclosures close, the borders rise, the rights get stripped, the sky stays dark. I confess I have not been an easy advisor for Claire. She wants to complicate everything just a little bit more, one more step, because we have to, Josh. It can't be that simple. Don't make me simplify this. And I want her to be more simple, to just say it, Claire, land the plane. This is really about Justin Bieber. That's what the dissertation's about. But she needs diagrams and, quote, 8 primary modes by which people compensate for the unrealized longing for absolution. I will be kept up for many nights with those 8 primary modes. And definitely this is not a dissertation about Justin Bieber, Josh. You need to know that. I lose and lost these battles 9 times out of 10 because Claire is pretty much always right. I want her to cut the cord with Walter Benjamin, if even just a little, but she says, no, you can't do that. That's what's at stake. That's why I'm doing this, Josh, to understand his project all the way through, which should be all of our projects. And whenever I would think I'm right, I would realize that it's not that I was wrong. It's that I was, from the beginning, completely outmatched by one of the most sophisticated, brilliant, expansive, and committed minds that I've ever met. A mind that can write this like it's nothing, so the final words of the dissertation, If communism aspires for totality, and this includes the spiritual experience of language as such, or what Christianity inspires people to call the oversoul, then, in contrast, capitalism and America gives us small tastes. The Force from Star Wars, Elsa of Frozen fame, lists and lists like this. How, in this context, might we derive the therapeutic benefits of spiritual experience without succumbing to total submission? Claire wrote a dissertation about angels and wish images in popular music and popular culture, but what she really wrote is indeed, in the end, her own extension of Walter Benjamin's philosophical legacy, her own philosophical treatise on how we struggle to survive, struggle to maintain something we might call freedom without succumbing to total submission. She's inspired me every step of the way in this process, in part because I know everything that I've just said about her work right now, thought bubble, she's thinking, oh, he still doesn't get it. And I look forward to many, many more years as she keeps writing and keeps publishing book after book, essay after essay, staging organization and protests and mobilization and union after union, many more years when I will definitely still not get it. And as a result of not getting it, keep being changed in the process. So big congrats, Claire.
Oh, well, now I'm going to feel really foolish. I didn't prepare very much. And it's true. I was telling Larry at like dog and pony shows, I always try to be a dog, you know. But now on the verge of tears, let me say thank you. This process, as my fellow graduates will know, I've never been to a graduation before. It's pretty cool. This is a process of self-discovery as much as anything else. And I actually think we all need to be inspired over and over again, even if we're disciplined and good at hard work. And I've had my dips through this, and I've had a lot of support to get through them, and I'm really grateful for that, really grateful for Peter, my husband. Whew, what a marathon, huh? And yes, my kids, Irene and Ames. And to the very distinguished and just very generous, kind people on stage here today, thank you, earnestly. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Anne-Marie. And onward.
Let us welcome to the stage Stephie Kim. The chair of her dissertation was Lynn Miller. The title of her dissertation is Virtually Acceptable and Feasible: Towards Developing Efficacious Virtual Reality Interventions for Individuals with Social Anxiety Disorder.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? No? Oh, this one. I thought that was more at my level, but okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a joy to be here. I have 3 students who I am very fond of, so I'm going to read so that I don't cry. It's not going to be so easy. Stephie's work is at the intersection of health communication, focus on interpersonal communication, relational well-being, and mental health, especially social anxiety disorder. Synchronous technologies, including virtual reality and virtual environments, and media psychology. She has 5 publications in top peer-reviewed journals, including Frontiers in Psychology, Health Communication, Computers and Human Behavior, and Health Informatics, and another article soon to be accepted. I want to tell you a little bit about her health communication publication, because this was her first in this very important area of social anxiety disorder. And in fact, it's the first piece that actually took a very deep look at people with social anxiety disorder and tried to understand the world from their perspective, to try to understand what it was in these social situations that caused them such horrific problems in communicating effectively with others. This work was published, as I said, in Health Communication. And in preparation, it's really for preparation for these virtual environments, because we have to understand the world from the perspective of the target population that we're trying to help. So this is really groundbreaking work. It was the first work in this area, shockingly, really. So she uncovered a range of perceptions and deficits in communication skills that adversely impact people with social anxiety disorder and their social interactions. The 3 studies in her dissertation filled different gaps in developing efficacious virtual reality interventions for eyesight individuals, including testing her own new technology acceptance model, leveraging computer mouse, that's what we use with our computers, to move around to simulate the kind of movement that people were going to have to understand in these virtual spaces, to assess the role of these unconscious goal conflicts for these individuals that she uncovered. Manipulate virtual agents' speed and proximity in virtual context and their differential impact on eyesight individuals. Her next step is to get more VR experience in achieving her intervention certification, in VR experience to achieve the intervention goals. With a wide assortment of skills, she has an amazing assortment of skills, I can't read them all, but they're in AI, they're in VR, they're in advanced Unity development, by which, by the way, she had to learn on her own, plus skills in design and production, including with Unity, a major game platform, as well as strong management and interpersonal skills. She begins a new position as a data analyst, intern in research with Insomniac Games, that's the developer of Spider-Man, owned by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Stephie is more than an exceptionally skilled and creative scholar. She's an exceptionally caring, empathic, and just delightful person whose commitment to and ability to make a difference in a highly challenging domain, helping to address social anxiety disorder, which is a profoundly disabling disorder, is just inspiring. I know she could be an emerging leader in our field, having a profound impact in the years ahead in developing more effective interventions for individuals with this terrible disorder. I am so proud of her, and I can't wait to see what she does next. Congratulations, Dr. Kim.
Thank you so much for your great speech, Lynn. That was really... So, hi everyone. I'm honored to stand here today as a newly minted doctor, or a doctor who's just been hooded. Even as I speak, it's hard to believe I've reached this milestone after years of dedication and perseverance. Reflecting on my doctoral journey, I feel like I'm a sturdy vessel now, ready for its maiden voyage. And throughout my PhD years, I've built this vessel with the help of so many important people in my life, and I definitely know that I didn't get here alone. So first and foremost, my wonderful advisor, Dr. Lynn Miller, I cannot thank you enough for your great mentorship. You've always been my source of inspiration, and thanks to you, I've become a rigorous social science researcher. And I also want to extend my gratitude to my committee members, Dr. Margaret McLaughlin and Dr. Lindsay Young over there, for providing me with valuable insights and encouragement along the way. And thank you, Sarah and Anne-Marie, for helping me so much throughout the PhD years. And of course, to my fellow colleagues and friends over there, I see some of you over there. Thanks for being my support system during the ups and downs of this journey. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my husband, Ju-myung, and my family for their love and support, which has kept me going. It was a bit of a bumpy road, but it was made much smoother thanks to everyone. And I'd also like to say that during my doctoral studies, much of my focus has been on personal growth and development. But as I prepare to embark on my next journey to uncharted waters, I'd like to leverage the skills and knowledge I've gained here to create an impact on the bigger society so that the world can become a better place. All in all, I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity to study at Annenberg. I'll cherish all the meaningful connections. Say that I'm leaving with a sense of accomplishment and hope for the future. Once again, thank you, everyone.
Next, we want to bring up to the stage Ming Shuan Liu, whose dissertation chair was Professor Lynn Miller. And the title of their dissertation was The Good, the Bad, and the Longitudinal, Testing Dynamic Pro-Social and Toxic Behaviors in Online Commercial Games.
Am I on? Yeah. You can hear me, right? Great. Okay. So I'm going to tell you about Ming Shuan. Her work is deeply interdisciplinary. It's at the intersection of communication technology and media psychology. She explores what digital technologies, including asynchronous, that's what we think of as social media, for example, and synchronous technologies such as games and virtual environments, reveal about who we are and how we design the digital technologies that shape users' health and well-being, especially the underrepresented and marginalized groups in digital spaces, often in highly naturalistic environments at the within person, between person, and structural levels of analysis. She uses an eclectic mix of statistical, computational, and qualitative methods with a range of communication technologies. Currently, Ming Shuan has 6 peer-reviewed publications in top journals in our field. She's a first author of quite a few, 1 book chapter, and 5 additional journal articles under review. In her dissertation work with 2 commercial video game companies, she conducted 3 studies involving tens of thousands of commercial game players to examine how individual network position, social group, and the overall social environment influence toxic and proximal behaviors in virtual worlds over longitudinal time. Her oral defense showcased her stunning professionalism and the depth of her ideas, creativity, and skills. Really, it was poetry in motion. At so many levels, it was just a really thrilling one to watch. Shortly, she begins a postdoctoral fellow at Northwestern University at the Spiegel Research Center of the McGill School of Journalism, Media, and Integrated Marketing Communication. A rising scholar, she's also an exceptionally gentle and caring person. But don't let her quiet demeanor fool you. She is and will be an intellectual force in our field, and I can't wait to see her trajectory in the years ahead.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for your kind words. And hi, everyone. I'm Ming Shuan, and I wanted to thank you, all of you, for being here and witness this important milestone in your life. And I will try to make the most of the 2 minutes, and toward the end of my speech, I will speak Chinese so that my parents and friends in China could understand. So, back in my primary and middle school, I wasn't exactly the best student. Although I worked very hard, and after high school, I got to Annenberg and got to where I am today, I know that I'm not doing it by myself. I'm very privileged and lucky, and my luck with having great teachers has continued ever since high school. So during my PhD, I was lucky enough to have Lynn as my advisor, and I couldn't have done my PhD without her guidance, support, and love. And of course, there are Dimitri, Lindsay, and I saw Marlon there, and many others like Patty and Tom Valenti and Larry Gross, who taught us was first class, and also Emilio, like so many of you here. And also Sarah and Emery. I hope we can continue like collaborating and become like lifelong friends. And lastly, I wanted to thank everyone who's here today and those who couldn't make it. You know who you are. Like I saw like Junyi, Jack, Li Chen, Fei Xue, and Eugene Zhang, Eugene Li, and all of you here. My friend, thank you so much. And finally, I'd like to extend a special thank you to my boyfriend, Derek, who's been there for me during my ups and downs. And then I'll talk about it in Chinese. 谢谢我的爸爸妈妈，这么多年来为我付出时间、金钱。爱和耐心，即使以我离他们越来越远为代价。It sounds much harder to speak in your own language. So, 我总来追求独立和自由，他们也一直努力适应我的节奏，跟随我的脚步。我爸问我说，以前我想去哪儿，他都会带我去哪里。那以后他老了，我会不会也带他去？我肯定是会的，因为父母不只在我的过去，也在我的未来。并且我觉得人这一辈子主要仰赖亲密关系的滋养，应当为这种几种重要的关系付出，不然人和 AI 有什么区别？所以谢谢我的朋友陈爽和白科，维系着我和故乡的归属感。还有我的高中最好的朋友王耀佳、黄延蕊，大学最好的室友申良、孙文，那他们世界上最了解我还爱我的人。因为有了这些朋友，我觉得我得到了无条件的爱，做我的朋友并不是一件容易的事情。谢谢他们一直以来的陪伴和支持。So unconditional love is something like every young people in East Asia have been craving for in our lives, and I've been so lucky to receive a lot of it, and I will continue sharing my love with others. So thank you.
Next, we have Yunwen Wang, whose co-chairs were Margaret McLaughlin and Lynn Miller. She will be hooded by Professor Lynn Miller, and the title of her dissertation was Gamification plus HCI plus CMC, Effects of Persuasive Video Games on Consumers' Mental and Physical Health.
This is my last one, so I'm hopeful my tears will hold off. I want to introduce you to Kathy Wang. Kathy's work is in the intersection of three areas: health communication, communication technologies, apps, mobile, social media, video games, virtual agents, with a focus on HCI, human-computer interaction, and user experience, as well as a third area, computational social science. This includes natural language processing, big data analytics, and a range of statistical techniques and mixed methods. Throughout, she is focused on social justice and a focus on underserved populations involving health disparities. Kathy currently has 12 peer-reviewed publications in journals such as the Journal of Health Communication, Computers and Health Behavior, Telemedics and Informatics, and the Annual Review of Biomedical Data Science. 3 peer-reviewed conference presentations, book chapter, and 10 articles in various stages of publication pipeline. In Google Scholar, she already has 323 citations. Since January, she has been a postdoctoral scientist at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, working in the lab of Dr. Graciela Gonzalez-Hernandez, a pioneer in, among other things, advancing the state-of-the-art in natural language processing models for health studies. Kathy's productivity is, however, a small part of the overall picture. She's so much more than that. She's an exceptionally capable, creative, and responsible student who works well with others and independently. I've borne witness to her exceptional personal strength, her perseverance in the face of considerable obstacles, her exceptional kindness, and her personal ethical integrity. As her co-mentor, Margaret McLaughlin, noted, I knew from the very start of her career at Annenberg that Kathy was uniquely gifted. She has the maturity and the discipline of a senior scholar and an unerring eye for how technological innovations will shape the next generation of health communication research. She's a standout and will go on to do great things. I wholeheartedly concur. She makes all of us, her mentors, Margaret and I, other faculty, her friends, colleagues, peers, and I'm sure her family, very proud.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone. I'm so honored to be hooted by one of my role models, not only as a scholar, but also as a teacher. I think Lynn has been a great mentor to all of us, as Stephie and Elaine will also agree with me. And I'm also privileged to be having 2 mentors, 2 advisors. Peggy, who couldn't be here today, also sent her congratulations. I've been keeping in touch with her, and it's such a nice journey to have 2 advisors. It's double the privilege I have. But they're not the only mentors that I owe sincere gratitude to. I know Dr. Robin Stevens made her way here today, especially for me. I'm so proud of our work together, and I know even though I already graduated in December, our future is still going to be unfolded, and we'll do great things together to make the society a more equal, more justice place. I was grilled at several job interviews for having 2 diverse interests and 2 diverse teaching, research, and social activism interests, but unapologetically. I don't see that as a weakness at all. I will continue to do my diverse interests, not only using research, but also my outside social activity as a way to do things that I think would make this imperfect world slightly less imperfect. Although I call this an imperfect world, but I do practice daily gratitude, which is the most important thing that supported me through this journey. I know all of you here would agree with me, it's not an easy journey, but having comradeships, having really good friendships all helped us survive, but not only survive, but also thrive. So thank you for my parents and friends who couldn't make it today. My parents took a 14-hour flight all the way from China. Through Hong Kong, they had to stop. So due to the situation between China and the US, which I really hope that there will be more compassion across the board and across different countries and races. But so glad they were able to make it here. They were the first generation college students of their respective family, and they had their degree, tertiary degree, after having me. So I was so lucky to see them achieving that, and claiming myself also to be the first student going to graduate school. So I had to move away from China for my schoolwork, but I don't think there were anything that was regretful. There were so many things I'm so grateful to. And my friends, Jingwen and Suryang, who is also watching from Australia and Japan, they are watching the YouTube live streaming right now. Thank you so much for being able to be there, because it's so early in your time zone. So wrapping up by congratulating every one of us. We made it. Yeah.
Now let's bring to the stage Paul Sparks, whose chair is Professor Sheila Murphy. Paul's dissertation was titled, "How Reducing Affective Polarization Increases Politically Motivated Reasoning."
I know, I want to head down first. So after that fashion advice, let me get back to just congratulating all of you today. I know some of you have had my classes, some haven't, but you're all part of our Annenberg family, and I hope to see you at those upcoming Annenberg cocktail parties at ICA. Some of you, in fact, may never interact much with your advisors except at those Annenberg cocktail parties, which turn out to be pretty popular. But I have a different relationship with my students. Essentially, you're never going to get rid of me.
Yeah.
You did know that, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. The reason Paul should know that, and Paul goes by Sparks, because the name Paul was already taken by another one of my students, Paul Falzone from UPenn. And in fact, my Falzone played matchmaker and actually showed up to a lunch, exactly. We showed up to a lunch, showed up at a lunch in Singapore with, pardon? Oh, Japan. Sorry. In Japan with Sparks in tow and another student of mine, both of whom were, sort of suggesting that we would make a good match. I'm not sure that we did, but we're here anyway. We did. Anyway, I'm delighted that they did, and it's been my pleasure, believe me. And Paul was a really unusual student because he had years of work in developing countries in research, real research on the ground, where you have to think fast and move fast, and maybe things aren't perfectly
there aren't perfect situations to do research, let's put it that way. Some of the admissions committee were a little skeptical. I can tell you this now. Because they weren't sure that Paul would be a good fit, that he would be able to reacclimatize himself back to classrooms. Well, I can tell you that the problem was not getting Paul acclimatized back to classrooms. The problem became getting him out of classrooms. Paul not only finished all of our required classes, he went on to get a specialization in behavioral economics and another in fMRI, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging, to look at how the brain processes information. At some point, I had to call an end to it all, right? So that inspired him to write his thesis, and that's why we're here today. So I want to also make the point that Paul's research was equally eclectic. We together have looked into the impact of different types of humor, like sarcasm or slapstick, on political opinions on late-night talk shows. For example, we have looked at abortion depictions and how they shape viewers' attitudes towards abortion. We have looked at how to use very simple computer games in Cambodia to try to get youth to start thinking ahead of time, i.e. years ahead of time, about whether, for example, they need math to a higher degree to get where they want to go in their careers. And it turns out to be really valuable because essentially, as many of you know, if you decide late in life you want to do something with even simply thing like run your own bakery, you need to have math. And so this simple game called Wanji Games that we developed with Paul Falzone and Lauren Frank actually did that successfully. So finally, this ended with his dissertation, which, as Taj mentioned, the title, it actually is an attempt by Paul to reduce the political divide and partisanship, the partisan divide. And it's been a wild ride. For you, it's just getting started. And I want you to remember that I'll be watching.
Yeah. No doubt.
I'm not leaving you alone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sheila. That was incredible. I also really want to express my appreciation to a few other people in the room today. Lindsay and Robin, my committee members. Love you guys so much. Could not have done this without you. And also my dear friend Ashley Phillips, and co-author on so many things, and hopefully my contributor and collaborator well into the future as well. Sheila gave me a little bit too much credit there. I'm not actually certified in functional magnetic resonance imaging, but I have studied neuroscience a good bit, so thank you for the extra credit. If you'll allow me a small indulgence, I would actually like to share a little bit about what I learned. Sort of an odd idea. It's going to be trouble. So I've actually stood on this very stage and lectured to students here many times throughout the time I've been at Annenberg. And so given all of the guests and people we have joining us online, this is counterintuitively, proportionately, one of the least academically involved audiences I've spoken to from this lectern. And, I should have looked at my notes more carefully. Sorry. And I think there's something to that. A lot of what we do in academia ultimately is talk to each other about very particular and peculiar things. But it's, of course, not just academics who live in information silos. We all do. Never before has it been easier to cut people out of our communities. And to be clear, I'm not talking about cancel culture. I'm talking about the marked decline in our ability as a nation to make decisions based on commonly shared reality. My dissertation research is about how political identities change the way we process basic information. Most of what we believe is not based on a clear-eyed assessment of the facts, but rather the motivation to protect our own identities. So with that, I have an unpopular piece of advice for those of you who would seek a better world. Love your enemies. And remember that people change their minds through relationship, not rhetoric. Thank you all so much.
And let us bring to the stage Amberlynn Scott, whose chair is Professor Patty Riley. You can give a better hand of applause. There we go. The title of her dissertation is Forests, Fires, and Flights, Examining Safety and Communication Practices within Aerial Firefighting Teams.
Like being on set, just in case you didn't know who you were. Faculty graduate. I love it. Try to help us all. I'm really happy to be here today. This is a lovely group, and these are wonderful students because I have had the very good fortune of having had all of them in class. You have no idea how exciting this is to the faculty that you're all done. It's so lovely. And so I'm mostly here to talk about Amberlynn, but they're all wonderful, as you can tell from what their advisors have said. So I'm absolutely blessed to have had Amberlynn as a PhD student. As we all say, we learn as much from our students, maybe more than they do from us, and that has definitely been the case with Amberlynn. The title of the dissertation should have been a clue that this was a big and complicated and absolutely wonderful study. Amberlynn was the first Annenberg PhD student to receive an advancement fellowship from the USC graduate school in 20 years. And so that allowed her to do this, absolutely in-depth and amazingly insightful dissertation. And while we've had, metaphors of boats and lots of other things, Amberlynn's study is on aerial firefighting teams. And so she parlayed a very interesting background. She came to us as an adult, which is also a really interesting phenomenon. And she had her own ideas, but one of the things that she did with her background, partially from the U.S. Navy and partially from her service as a safety officer for the Blue Angels. We've all seen the Blue Angels, right? They're not about, make a lot of noise and break things, right? The idea is precision. And so what Amberlynn studies is a concept called high reliability organizations. And so it might be a hospital, surgical team. It might be an aircraft carrier where you've got only so much space and so much time, and if you screw up, people die. And so high reliability organizations are very hard to get into, but the organization for her dissertation, CAL FIRE, was persuaded by her background that she would understand what they did and that her insights would be valuable to them. and a bunch of them showed up for her dissertation defense, which was amazing, right? And so one of the things that you understand about these organizations is that they want to be better. That even though they're so precise and they have all these incredible routines, people are complicated. And they carry little slights and they have different kinds of foibles. And Amberlynn had to both understand all of that, sift through that, and then figure out what is it that we know and what is it that other high reliability organizations can do to take advantage of this. And so one of the things that she did was she brought to the committee, in different forms at different times, thousands of pages of data. She brought all of these fascinating high-level interviews and observations. There are some great pictures that I can share if anybody wants of Amberlynn going through the same kind of training that CAL FIRE puts other people through. And by the way, we can say the name of the organization where she collected her data, which is also highly unusual, but they figured that this would be good knowledge for the world to have, and they said it was okay. And so one of the things that happens in, this sort of dissertation is it's probably never going to be done, this study. She has so much data. One of her committee members, Andrea Hollingshead, said this was astounding. And I'm still not sure I fully understand. So it's just, one of those wonderful stories. I could tell you so many things that we learned, but you should, at least read the short version abstract. What I want to do instead is tell you that Amberlynn's not going to sit on her laurels, that she's already been offered and accepted a tenure-track job at the University of Kentucky. And just as our dean noted at the beginning, people say, please send us your graduates. The previous occupant of that job was an Annenberg grad from 4 years ago. And so we're also doing the keeping it in the family thing. There's one thing I wanted to mention that I think sometimes we forget to say, and I thought of it because of Spark's talk. Amberlynn, besides being this incredible researcher, is also a really wonderful teacher. And I've had students tell me how wonderful it has been to get to know her. And we are not just our research, but our teaching is also a huge part of Annenberg and being a mentor to others. And so I wanted to be sure to mention that. I will miss the more regular conversations that we've had. Amberlynn has been absolutely so much fun. We now finish each other's sentences. And so this has been great. We will continue to work together, and I want to wish her the absolute best in life. So thank you.
Well, I wrote my remarks down in an effort to not cry. But there's probably no way that's going to happen, so I'll apologize in advance. But they are keeping us on a strict timeline today, so I can't thank everyone that I want to. I'm also the last graduate between y'all and the free champagne waiting, so I'm going to keep it short. But over 5 years, you think a lot, at least for me, about what you want to say on this day. Getting a PhD is incredibly hard, and it doesn't always come with just high points, particularly during a pandemic. But here I am. And rather than use my limited time to thank people that many of you don't even know, I'd rather just spend my time up here talking about why I came to grad school and why I hope it matters to you too today. 2015 and 2016, this world lost two amazing men. Captain Jeff Koos and Major Taj Serene were what we used to call in the military as good dudes. Losing my friends is what motivated me to go to graduate school. It is what keeps me doing this thing that I have been doing even when I wanted to quit. And trust me, I wanted to quit a lot. Just ask the love of my life, Mike, who helped me through this whole process. But I didn't quit, neither did any of you, because we've been given a gift. The gift is USC Annenberg. This place is not without fault, but it is a wonderful place filled with talented, caring people. And I've spent the past 5 years trying to thank all of you early and often, rather than just saving it up for today. So instead today, I just want to remind everyone, both my colleagues, my friends, my family, everyone online watching, that we're all meant for something bigger. For me, it was studying HROs so that Jeff and Taj didn't die in vain, and so that others can work in dangerous professions safely. And I still have a lot of work to do, and all of you do too, so don't waste it. Use your talents just like the amazing men and women that I got to study with CAL FIRE every day. I had the privilege of witnessing firsthand their amazing work, and I'm proud that that research might make a difference in their lives. And to my friends and colleagues in this room today at USC, I wish you the very best in whatever you do. But please, be the change that you want to see in this world. Don't just complain. Go out there and fix them, because you have the talent and you have the passion to do so. And I know some of you are destined to do absolutely incredible things, and I can't wait to cheer you on. And to all of the friends and family watching today, thank you. I love you all, especially those of you that supported me during the hardest times of this journey, especially in the very beginning, long before we got to the celebratory point today. To those of you that cheered me on from the very early days, my heart is filled with gratitude. And to my committee, thank you for showing me how to be a good, ethical researcher and what really matters in academia. And I do have to tell a tiny Patty Riley story because I just have to. I wasn't going to. But to sum up the kind of wonderful faculty that we have here at USC, my co-research and I once did a summer research project that involved a survey online, 80 people, $15 per participant. We made a mistake and we did not properly set the survey limits. And when we woke up the next morning, we had 8,000 responses. That is not a phone call you want to make to your advisor. But a testament to Patty Riley is that she immediately said, "It's going to be okay. We'll figure it out." And we did. So thank you, Patty. That's a testament. I wasn't going to call you out. But finally, I just want to close with, again, a thank you to all of you. Please use your talents. And I do have to say one last thank you to my partner, Mike. I will try and just say thank you so that I don't dissolve into tears up here. So forgive me for my short thank you. But anyone wearing these robes, any of you up here as well, know that you don't get here alone. You, Mike, read every paper that I wrote, including the really bad ones, and you've picked me up when I wanted to quit. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. This PhD is as much yours as mine, so thank you. And again, to everyone in this room, thank you for being part of our journey. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, every member of the faculty. I hope that you notice something consistent, and as we learn about every dissertation project, every mentor-mentee relationship, that the consistency that you probably notice is that every project was for the good of society. I am so proud that you are my colleagues. Let's go and celebrate together. Please join us in the reception.